Well, telling children they are overweight leads to them piling on the pounds later in life, psychologists told MPs this week.
Yeah, it comes as new figures released today show there has been a huge surge in eating disorders.
Yes, with hospital admissions having increased by 84% for these disorders in the last 5 years.
Children and young people are the worst affected, with a rise of 90% in the number hospitalised.
And admissions for boys and young men have also increased by 128% in 5 years. So joining us now is Dr Angela Meadows, a lecturer in psychology at the University of Essex and chair of the National Obesity Forum, Tam Fry. It's a pretty stark thing to have to do, isn't it, to tell a child they are overweight. Is it the right way to go, Tam?
Well, I don't think you have got the point as far as I'm concerned. I want to support the theory of measuring children regularly in their early years. We don't do that, and that's why we have so many people. And the object of the exercise is to catch them before they become overweight, but see the first signs of weight going on or weight coming off. So, if you will, I'm in a preventive manner as opposed to a curative manner.
OK, so what do you mean by early years? Because you can have youngsters, babies, toddlers that are chubby and bout of chicken pox and it all falls off. What would you say was young enough to start looking at the trends? When does it start to become a concern?
The ideal time would be about 2 or 3. Because at that point, they've grown out of their puppy fat, they've grown out of their first 2 years, and they're starting to think about growing properly. And so if you were to do a measurement at 3, 4, and 5, you would be able to see very easily by charting them on the charts whether they're going normally or upwards or downwards. And at that point, you can intervene.
Is 3 years old the right age to be worrying about being chubby?
Well, let me tell you, we have children in hospital at the age of 2 for obesity. So in a sense, it's already too late.
Angela, I mean, I guess your response to that, because when you hear the stark reality, is Tam saying that there are children at the age of 2 in hospital because of obesity, I mean, that is a stark warning, isn't it, that something radical needs to happen?
Well, I would totally agree that something radical needs to happen. But I disagree with Mr. Fry on what that might be. First of all, the question is, why do we have 2-year-olds in hospital with obesity? Why do we have 5-year-olds being hospitalised with eating disorders? And we've been measuring children. Around the world, there have been various programmes. We've been surveilling children's weight from various ages. In the UK, we do it at 5 and 11. And there is no evidence whatsoever that this results in improved trajectories of BMI. It tends to be associated with higher weight going forward. And even more importantly, there's no evidence whatsoever that everything we're doing, whether that's monitoring or intervening, is improving children's health. And most of the evidence we have is showing that it's actually making them less healthy.
So if you measure them, if you start early or the time that we're doing, that actually has the opposite effect.
Absolutely.
Why have they sort of come to understand why? Is that the psychological aspects of being measured, being sort of quantified all the time?
Definitely. I mean, there's certainly an increasing number of studies looking at weight labelling. So in the US, there have been several studies, but I can think of one that followed 2,000 young women or young girls from the age of 10 to the age of 19. And those of them who were labelled as too heavy or overweight at the age of 10, by 19, they were more likely to be described in the obese BMI category than those who hadn't been labelled that way, regardless of what they weighed to start with. And at 14 years old, those same girls, regardless of what they weighed to start with, were more likely to be engaged in a range of very unhealthy weight control behaviours, dieting, laxatives, starving, amphetamines, drugs. And at 19, they're more likely to be smoking. And if I may preempt you, I've heard Mr. Fry say that if we do this sensitively, you know, like there's a right way to tell children that their bodies are too heavy or too slim, and they will take notice. And I completely agree that they will take notice. They do take notice, and they start trying to do things. They start trying to lose weight. They start trying to diet. And all of the evidence shows that the most common outcome of dieting is weight gain. So when that doesn't work, then they start trying more severe things.
What do you make of that, Tam? Because, you know, I don't know if you've ever been on a diet, but the second, for me, that I think, oh, I'm eating way too much chocolate, it is all I can think about. That isn't an eating disorder, but that is something that happens to the brain. And what Andrew's talking about is something that spirals into a health condition.
I'm totally against dieting.
Right.
I think dieting is the wrong way to go. What I am for is to identify a problem or identify the beginning of a problem and deal with it before it becomes a greater problem. Now, a lot of people would say, well, he's an old man and he's talking out of the top of his head. What I have to say is that the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, which is the body which is most concerned with children, actually think that from the age of 2, we should be doing this so it can be picked up. What is lacking is a government policy which actually regulates for that. We don't have enough health visitors, we don't have enough people in the community to be able to do this sort of thing. So if you will, it's a wake-up call to the government. Now, Angela and I met on Monday when we were talking to the Health Select Committee of the House of Commons and impressing on them that they had to do something drastic for children because it's not been done at the moment. Now, I've been doing this job for 30 years, and I have noticed that, in fact, without measuring, because it hasn't been taking place, we've had an escalation of obesity, particularly my subject, which leaves now 1 million children being seen in hospital for their weight condition.
So
that is a start.
In your point of view, then, it's not the measuring, it's what you then do with that information.
Precisely.
Right.
The measuring is picking it up, and then you hand it over to the people who are qualified to deal with it.
I wonder, Angela, I mean, sort of talk about the government as well. They've scrapped the ban on buy one, get one free deals on junk food products. Do you feel like, I mean, they've said it's about the cost of living crisis. Does that feel like the right way to be going?
Everything that we know from surveillance that's been carried out about BMI trajectories is that underweight, overweight, and indeed under height tracks social deprivation. And I am dead set against calling food junk food. People are doing the best they can with what they have available to feed their families. And these are very difficult times. And rather than demonising individual choices, what we need to be doing is looking at reducing these health disparities and making things better all around. But if I may, coming back to the so-called obesity crisis, yes, children are getting fatter. But why and what do we do about it? So even if we assume that the fatness per se is causing health problems, we are unable to deliver. We've been trying this for 60 years to address health issues by targeting weight.
Look, it's fascinating to hear both of you. I think it's something we're going to have to come back to because there's so much to unpick there. But really, thanks very much to both of you this morning.
We're out of time, I'm afraid, Angela and Tam.
You're welcome.